Today, we will be discussing Telangana safeguards, violation and consequences. Till now, we have seen whatever has happened in Telangana, that is part of Hyderabad state. First, from a feudal to a democratic state, that is in independent India, Hyderabad state, a democratic state which is ruled by an elected chief minister. Then gradually, under the pressure of the Vishalandra lobbyists, Telangana, part of Hyderabad state, is becoming part of the Andhra Pradesh. So, before Andhra Pradesh becoming a reality as a state, there were many things happened as we have discussed earlier, like States Reorganization Commission, then Gentleman's Agreement, and after Gentleman's Agreement, the Andhra Pradesh state has been formed with all the clauses discussed in the Gentleman's Agreement. So, to implement Gentleman's Agreement, there should be something in written, that is, we are calling it as Telangana safeguards. We will see how Telangana safeguards have been formulated by the center. Today, we will be talking about the Telangana safeguards. Under this violation of safeguards, we will see how the migration of coastal Andhra region is happening and its consequence, how from 50s onwards until post 70s, developmental scenario in Telangana is completely affected in agriculture, irrigation, power, education, employment, and all walks of life, in all fields, in all departments. We can see completely encroachment of the space by the Andhra ruling class, and thus violating the rights of the Telangana people. So, first if we see violation, when we talk of violation, this is the question of trust. Nehru, when he was unveiling the state of Andhra Pradesh, he clearly stated that now there is the onus is on Andhra leadership to win over the hearts of Telangana. Because though States Reorganization Commission has said that you can merge only after 61 if 2/3 of the MLAs from Telangana are accepting for it, still Telangana is being merged with the Andhra Pradesh state. So, it is the responsibility of Andhras to win over the hearts of the Telangana people or Telangana leadership. This is what Nehru said. Unfortunately, no one followed it. From day one, they have started violating it. So, violation is the first word of Andhra Pradesh history. Day one, the first word, if you have to write the history of Andhra Pradesh, November 1st, it starts with violation. Violation, interpretation, misinterpretation, or twisting the facts according to their convenience and benefiting the Andhra ruling class or Andhras. This is the most blatant aspect they are doing. So, mischievous, deceitful, blatant, all these adjectives can be used for the happenings in this entire history of Andhra Pradesh. Not a single one, it is hundreds and hundreds of violations happen. A political statement is a violation, an act is a violation, if any executive is performing its duty, it's a violation. We have seen umpteen number of violations in the entire period. So, let's see one by one. For example, it starts with the name of the state itself. When we have discussed, we have named it as Andhra Telangana jointly, and this was referred to the center. When it was referred to the center, what it has to do? It has to discuss again, come back. But in the discussions or deliberations with the center, they were suggesting Andhra Pradesh because they have their own ulterior motives. Andhra Pradesh is smelling more of Hindi. It is Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh. They are making everything in their line. So, in this background, when Andhra Pradesh is being talked, Andhra leadership completely accepted it, and they opposed the word Telangana when they have accepted during the discussions. So, we can see first violation itself in the name. Andhra Telanganam has completely vanished. In that word, Andhra is there and Pradesh is there, which is a center infused name, that is Pradesh. Andhra is remaining. Then comes another blatant and an important violation is Telangana Regional Council. In Gentleman's Agreement, we have discussed and we have thoroughly deliberated how the Telangana Regional Council should be. It is a statutory body. It will have the functions of making decisions. But here, after this, it becomes Telangana Regional Committee after everything is happening. We'll see when and how it has happened. So council becomes a committee, toothless body, just an advisory body, and thus Telangana is at loss. Then all these things are happening because of the intense lobbying of the Andhra leadership. Always they used to lobby for everything with central leadership. And unfortunately, Telangana leadership is never in lobbying. They were not even capable of lobbying. That is a problem. So Andhra leaders succeeded in making all the violations possible according to their needs. Then about the CM or Deputy CM post. Agreement says either CM or Deputy CM should be given to Telangana. And Neelam Sanjay Reddy becomes the first Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh. And immediately he says the Deputy CM post is like a sixth finger. See, we have 5 fingers. The sixth finger is an adjunct. It is useless. It doesn't have any function. So sixth finger means useless finger. And he is comparing Deputy CM post with useless finger. And now he is taking a measure not to take any Telangana personality into his ministry or into his cabinet as a Deputy CM so that he can avoid a powerful personality inside. For example, if someone has to be taken, it would have been KV Rangareddy, Konda Venkata Rangareddy. So Konda Venkata Rangareddy is a staunch Telangana supporter. We can avoid, that's what he thought. Avoiding KV Rangareddy means avoid the Deputy CM post. So first violation, and very interestingly, this man, same Neelam Sanjay Reddy, was one of the signatory of this gentleman's agreement, and he is violating it as Chief Minister now. Then, in terms of allocation of portfolios, there was a clear-cut understanding that 2 out of the important 5 portfolios should be given to Telangana people. Now, what they have done is, they did not allot important portfolios. And they have divided portfolios too. Like, for example, in home, law and order is an important department in home. And they have taken out law and order and it was given to Chief Minister. So, law and order was separated and home minus law and order given to one. Trade and industry again bifurcated. And even irrigation, when you bifurcate also, you bifurcate like irrigation into small, medium, big, industry also small, medium and big. So, you can avoid giving an entire portfolio a Telangana minister and making him powerful, him or her powerful. This was the malicious intention behind all these violations. Then, Marri Channa Reddy, a staunch supporter of Telangana, was not taken into ministry because he will voice the concerns of Telangana, that's what they felt. Then VB Raju, a settler, who was for Vishalandra always, was taken as revenue minister. We'll see the ramification. We'll see the effect of VB Raju being the revenue minister in future. So, convenient people will be given better portfolios. Inconvenient people were completely avoided and thus the ministry was formed. And about the party, Telangana Congress Committee was merged with AP in 1957 itself. But according to the agreement, it will continue till 61. What has happened? Why they have merged means not to give a platform for the Telangana leaders, Telangana Congress leaders at national level or state level, higher platform. And they wanted to make them subordinate. And with the introduction of Panchayat Raj system in the next phase, what happened? The Andhra leadership were subjugating or were making all the local Telangana leaders subjugated before them and they were running the show. This is what has happened in politics. Safeguards is a word. To implement the points of gentleman's agreement, Telangana safeguards were introduced. Who introduced it? Parliament. In the Parliament, the central government has introduced. The Andhra Pradesh Regional Committee Order 1958. It was issued on 1st February 1958 and also known as Presidential Order and also known as Telangana Regional Committee. This Telangana Regional Committee, remember I talked about council, as the agreement says, now it is Regional Committee. What is the major violation in TRC? Major violations in TRC. See, in the agreement, it is stated that CM or Deputy CM from Telangana will be the chairman and it is not implemented. Instead, election to the chairmanship of TRC will happen. Means the members of the TRC will elect one chairman. See, CM or Deputy CM would have been more powerful person to dictate or to decide upon the affairs of Telangana. But electing from all these people will leave a scope for the Andhra leadership to elect the convenient people. They have done all these mischievous things. We'll talk about it. For example, you can take the elections, they tried to make their comfortable person like Gurumurthy as the chairman. We will talk when I am talking about the elections and constitution of TRC. Constitution of TRC itself is a very interesting thing. In gentleman's agreement, we talked about 20 members from different categories. Now gentleman's agreement is gone. Now the safeguards is talking about all the legislators of Telangana will be in TRC. Why they have taken all the legislators of Telangana? As we know, there are many people who were the supporters of Vishal Andhra. For example, communists were supporters. Even in Congress, there were many supporters like V.B. Raju plus all the other people. V.B. Raju with bad intention, V.B. Raju with bad background, or V.B. Raju with some settler background. But the Telangana people also, there are some people who were completely supporting Vishal Andhra concept. So that will make them happy, that will make the leadership of Andhra comfortable to elect the persons as chairman. That is why they have changed the composition of TRC itself. And next one is about the sale of agricultural lands, which is very, very important, because if most of the Andhras are buying agricultural lands in Telangana, what will happen? The people of Telangana will get alienated from agriculture. Because we have seen in 1920s itself, when the new dams were constructed, Nizam invited many people to come and settle down under the Anicut regions. Then many people came from Andhra, purchased, especially in Nizam Sagar area or this one Nalgonda region, under Nagarjuna Sagar in the latter period. We have seen many people coming and settling down as the agriculturists. So here, to avoid such situations, to make the locals feel the right of ownness of on the land, this clause was there in gentleman's agreement. Now what happened? They have violated this, like sale of agricultural lands was not implemented. Though they have included under TRC, they haven't implemented. Like employment in Telangana, this is also not included. Irrigation, not included. And language question, that is Urdu. In gentleman's agreement, we have seen Urdu will be granted the same status as before. And no one will be asked to prove their capacity in Telugu or English till 2 years of service. After that, that basic proficiency should be, test should be passed. Now what has happened? They haven't even mentioned about the implementation of safeguards for Urdu in the TRC. Like many of the things are completely changed, which were there originally in the Telangana Regional Council's purview in gentleman's agreement. And council becoming a committee, and the powers are also completely changed. Like they have clearly written, not involving any financial commitments other than expenditure of routine and incidental character. Means they are making this TRC, that is committee, as a redundant body or a routine body, normal functioning without any special powers. Let's talk about the TRC formation then. When they have formed the elections or the TRC is formed, the conspiracy was to elect a staunch supporter of Vishal Andhra so that there will be no hassles between the TRC and government. So what they have done, Gurumurthy was they were trying to project Gurumurthy as the candidate from Congress. Even from Congress, there is one Achyuta Reddy, but they tried intensely to project Gurumurthy, and internal elections also Gurumurthy lost. Thus, K. Achyuta Reddy was selected as the member contestant for this chairmanship. And when TRC's elections were held, Ravi Narayan Reddy was also the other contestant. The contest was between Achyuta Reddy and Ravi Narayana Reddy, and Achyuta Reddy won with a fair majority, and thus first chairman of TRC is K. Achyuta Reddy. Then Masuma Begum, the first deputy chairperson, was elected unanimously. There was Shahjahan Begum, who was also contesting, but Shahjahan Begum could not garner the support as Masuma Begum had in the party. So Masuma Begum was unanimously selected as the deputy chairman, and finally she was elected unopposed. So first deputy chairman Masuma Begum. Remember, this question was asked in one of the TSPSC examination. So first chairman, first deputy chairman, or anything like first should be remembered for your objective type questions. Then comes agriculture. Agriculture, Telangana, a place where agriculture is the mainstay of the people. We already discussed that sale of agricultural lands under TRC under TRC was not implemented. How they have misrepresented all these things is, see, in the beginning itself I have said misinterpretation or twisting the facts. This is the adjective I want to use when we are talking about this sale of agricultural lands. Like, they misused the act which was there, that is Andhra Pradesh, that is Telangana, Tenancy Act, Hyderabad 21 of 1950. This Tenancy Act will provide a respite for the tenants and the marginal farmers in that original format. And Section 50B of this Act empowers Tahsildar to order or to sanction the sale of agricultural land with the payment of prescribed fee. Now what has happened? Now it is Tahsildar is empowered. Tahsildar is a small officer in that sense. When V.B. Raju like person is the revenue minister, can a Tahsildar stop all the illegal sales? So V.B. Raju was the revenue minister. When I was talking about the portfolio allocation, I said, we'll see how V.B. Raju is helping the Andhra leadership in terms of violation. This is how V.B. Raju, being the revenue minister, he can have entire machinery under him and he can do all sorts of violation in this sale of agricultural lands. And at the same time, many Andhra employees were there in the department. Velodi government, we have seen many people from Andhra came in and joined the duties. So here, many Andhra employees were there in revenue department. So the job is very easy. At the top, you have the minister who is a supporter. Below, at the implementation level, you have Andhra employees. So sale of agricultural lands for non-Telanganites is happening happily without any hassle. So thus, lakhs of acres were transferred to Andhras in this period. Then comes another important aspect of violation. When we talk about Telangana movement, last phase, the slogan, Neelu, Nidhulu, Niyamakalu, water, resources, employment. Water is a crucial question. Even today, we have the same problem. Even today, even after the bifurcation, after 4 years, we are facing the same thing. We have regular contradiction with Andhra Pradesh regarding the Krishna waters and some aspects about Godavari. Krishna, Nagarjuna Sagar Dam, we have seen, we have witnessed in the last 2 years, twice police personnel from both the sides were gathering on both sides of Nagarjuna Sagar barrage to safeguard the interests of their respective states. Means the contradiction between Telangana and Andhra Pradesh in terms of water sharing, particularly Krishna, is so violent in this background. Now they have to work hard to violate all the provisions, to misuse their power and make Telangana a victim in irrigation sector. Many projects which were actually started during Nizam period were not again included in the plans. No project approved before 1956 should be stopped. This was a class. This is a general class. Whenever you are merging with the other one, we might have done some arrangements, we might have had plans like some projects before merger. So the new state, the United Andhra Pradesh, should not stop the old projects. It should be continued. But what has happened? They have twisted all these things. They have violated blatantly. They never cared for any rule of law. Less allocation for irrigation was done to Telangana. First, if you allocate very less, what will happen? You are killing the project without saying that I am killing it. You don't allocate, automatically the project will dry up. Only 16.11 crores were allocated during that period, immediate beginning period. Projects were withheld. Withheld means they did not initiate the projects which were already in the pipeline or on the paper. Like on Godavari, we have Ichampalli, Devunuru on Manjira, Penganga, Pranahita, and on Krishna River, we have Upper Krishna, Bhima, low-level canal on Tungabhadra. So almost 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 3, 7. 7 projects were completely stalled. They were withheld. This is the story. We are talking the sad tale of irrigation for Telangana. Pochampad. We have this in regular news always. Pochampad, Sriram Sagar, it's a 5-decade-old project. It was started in early 1940s And what is happening? The scope of Pochampad was reduced in Andhra Pradesh period, Andhra Pradesh government. The original proposal was for 257 TMCs and to irrigate 16.20, that is 16.20 lakh acres in 6 districts. Now under United Andhra Pradesh, Pochampad completely reduced in size, reduced it to 26 TMCs. Where is 257? Where is 2066? Almost 4 times. Then irrigation, 3,60,000 acres. Original plan was for 16.20 acres, lakhs acres. Now it is spread only in 2 districts, from 6 to 2 districts. Thus, Pochampad project, which was a huge project, was completely made a smaller one or medium one. And TRC tried to project this injustice. They wanted to expose this injustice. They have made memorandums. They met center, president and many things, but could not do anything. So TRC's power was so less that Pochampad could not be revived to its real or original size. So what has happened? Very interesting. First, on paper, you reduce the size. It was reduced, as we have seen, the statistics spoke. Then, in 1963, they have laid the foundation. And till 1969, means the whole 6 years, they have spent only 11 crore rupees on the project. 11 crores is a meager amount. You can start a project site office, that's it, nothing more than that. Site office, salaries of the employees, plus some initial designs, nothing more than that. So this was the sad state of Pochampad in the beginning. In this whole process, what has happened? When you reduce the capacity of Pochampad, the share of water which Pochampad will be having was utilized by Maharashtra, and Maharashtra gained at least 60 TMCs, and Telangana's water share got reduced. Who did it? This is the Andhra ruling class did it. They consciously reduced the size of the Pochampad. We'll see why they are hell-bent on deceiving the projects in Telangana region. The ulterior motives we have to discuss. So, on one side, Maharashtra is gaining at the cost of Telangana, and Telangana is losing at the cost of the leadership, Andhra Pradesh leadership. Kadem project, which was the only project which was under construction at the time of 1956. And AP government reduced it to 53 TMC, from 53 to 12 TMCs. Original plan was 53 TMCs. It was reduced to 12 TMCs. You can see, cutting down the size. Then Devanuru project on Nagarjuna River stopped, dropped or halted. Then, why these things happened on Godavari? I have talked about Ichampalli and I have talked about this Kadem and Pochampad. Why this has happened? Why Andhra leadership is not interested in continuing the projects on Godavari? It's because by reducing the capacity or by stalling the project, what do they gain? First, the Godavari waters which were available or which are used by these projects and irrigate the areas of Telangana can be used by Andhra if you don't have a project here. Like Dhavaleshwaram barrage near Rajamandri. If you don't have projects here, Dhavaleshwaram will have more water for 2 crops a year for all the delta regions. So, lessen the share or you cut the dams here and take the water to Dhavaleshwaram. This was the action. Then apart from it, if some amount is sanctioned from center for building of irrigation projects, if you are not building the irrigation projects here, what will happen? The amount which was allocated can be spent on the projects in Andhra. So, you will benefit on the second aspect also. So, third one, if Godavari waters can be diverted through canals or lifts to some other region and make the way to Krishna Penna basin in future, Godavari will meet Krishna Penna basin and in future it can irrigate Andhra and Rayalaseema. Who is at last? Again Telangana at last. So this is the story about Godavari. Then what about Krishna? Krishna River flows in 2 districts of Telangana. One is Mahbub Nagar, second one is Nalgonda. Nagarjuna Sagar, a huge dam is on Krishna. if we see the history of Nagarjuna Sagar, we will see the tale of deceit. How you can make it, how you can cheat the people of the other region if you have power. This is a tale of abject neglect. Abject neglect means utter neglect. Like, original proposal was 1930. The proposal was on Krishna, they wanted to build 3 dams. One on Upper Krishna at Kamaldinne in Gulbarga region, that was under Hyderabad state. Bhima project on Bhima at Tangadi, that is again Karnataka, Hyderabad state. On Krishna at Yeleshwaram, Nalgonda. Yeleshwaram is a place in Nalgonda which is submerged now, nearby this Nandikonda where the dam is built. We'll talk about Yeleshwaram a bit later also. The original plan was to build at Yeleshwaram, and what has happened is Yeleshwaram could have irrigated 161 TMCs to 10 lakh acres. It could store 161 TMCs and irrigate 10 lakh acres. And K.L. Rao, a renowned engineer and a popular man in administration, bureaucracy, and a very popular engineer for irrigation and electricity, what he did was, he shifted the project to Nandikonda, the present site, to benefit Andhra. Shifting from Yeleshwaram to Andhra will make the alignment a slight change. By changing the alignment of your project, what will happen? More water will be going or flowing into Andhra region than Telangana region. This is a major aspect. Nagarjuna Sagar, if you see Nagarjuna Sagar, you can see a huge dam, and this huge dam has a tail beneath it, which is a tale of deceit, cheating. Nagarjuna Sagar Foundation was laid by Nehru in 1955, and this was a project of Andhra Hyderabad joint project, because 1955 it's Hyderabad state. So Burgul Ramakrishna Rao was the chief minister. So it was a joint project. Then what has happened in the gradual process? Many changes happened. 1956 you have Andhra Pradesh. So there is no question of opposition from Telangana. So what is happening? The dam original place was Yeleshwaram, shifted to Nandikonda, as we have already discussed. By 55 itself it is changed. But the anecut of Telangana fixed in the project report as 8.8 lakh acres. Anecut of Andhra was 15.5 lakh acres. All this is happening because we have shifted it from Yeleshwaram to Nandikonda. And share is, in terms of percentage, 72 Andhra, 28 Telangana. Even this is modified further according to Andhra's convenience. So these statistics is only on paper. There are many violations in next period, in the next 2 or 3 decades. We can see in allocations, everything. So major aspect about Nagarjuna Sagar is, as Nehru has said, it is temples of modern India. What has happened with the modern India? Like you can see, in the modern Indian temple, the left canal which is flowing into Telangana was completely neglected. Lowering of the bed level of left canal will give less water to Telangana. Construction itself is delayed. That too faulty construction, very bad construction. The walls of the canal were not properly laid, always repairs. So as a problem, this entire Nagarjuna Sagar, which would have been one of the greatest dam for Telangana, became an abject neglect. It was our doom. Diverting water to Nandigama, very interesting. For his native place, Nandigama was the native place of K.L. Rao. The water was diverted towards Nandigama, irrespective of the agreements or the project plans. Some distributary canal was to give to Nandigama only after giving to Telangana. But violating it, they have distributed directly to Nandigama without giving to Telangana. Raising the water to delta regularly, this is all happening. In financial obligation also, the amounts Telangana has to bear in the construction of Nagarjuna Sagar dam was violated. Like 11.76 crore was extra paid by Telangana. All these things are discussed by Professor Jayashankar in his paper, The Telangana Movement 1969. He was trying to show why Telangana rose in agitation against Andhra state in this period. So, this is about Nagarjuna Sagar and part of Krishna. So, temple of modern India, as Nehru said when he was inaugurating Bhakranangal Dam. So, Temple of Modern India was the term he has used, but very unfortunately, I would prefer to call it as a massive structure of deceit of Andhra rulers. That is what we have to understand when we talk about Nagarjuna Sagar. We have discussed about the violations in different spheres, and in terms of irrigation, we thoroughly discussed about the violations in the construction of Nagarjuna Sagar. Now we will see what is happening with Krishna. River Krishna, as we know two districts, one is Mahbub Nagar and the other is Nalgonda. These two districts are the districts which are completely having its agriculture and everything. The life is dependent on Krishna in these two districts. Krishna, Bhima, Tungabhadra. All these three rivers were present in one district, that is Mahbub Nagar. Krishna, Bhima and Tungabhadra. In spite of having these three rivers, Palamuru is the center, Palamuru is a district, or Mahbub Nagar is a district which is famous for the migration of labor. Why? Why people have to leave their places and go? If irrigation would have been properly done here, the situation would not have been like that. Mahbub Nagar, though Krishna is running through the length and breadth of the state and entering into the other state from this border, there is no attempt to build Upper Krishna, Bhima or Tungabhadra low level canal, which I discussed Sanjeev Reddy stalling. Though these projects were designed much before 1956, so these three should have been executed. These three projects should have been constructed by at least making some efforts. In the entire period till 69, we see no paperwork, not even a single letter was sent to center or any other person or with other stakeholders like Karnataka by Andhra Pradesh government. Means they completely neglected these three projects. By neglecting that, what has happened? Entire Mahbub Nagar is devoid of a proper irrigation source. Though Mahbub Nagar is having Krishna, we can see Mahbub Nagar city, Mahbub Nagar town, actually now it's somewhat better. But Mahbub Nagar town, 4 or 5 years before, we can see they used to get drinking water once in 15 days or 10 days. River like Krishna flowing in the district and you don't get drinking water. River like Krishna flowing in the district, you don't get the irrigation water. And we are forced to migrate as labor. This is the tragedy. And very interesting thing, Krishna River was the cradle of civilization in Paleolithic period, Mesolithic period. Pedamaruru, Chinamaruru, or Dongalagattu, or Mudmal, all these are the centers when human evolution was there in Mahbub Nagar district. Now what is happening? Where's human evolution? Human civilization evolved. Prehistoric people lived and early historic phase is happening, and now people are forced to live because the same river is not the source anymore. This is the tragedy. Then come to the agriculture as a whole. Neglect of agriculture can be seen in this entire period. Expenditure on agriculture between 1956 and 68. If you see the disparity between the allocations, Andhra, it was 35.43 crores, whereas Telangana 15.66 crores. Telangana's share should have been 21.36 crores according to the gentleman's agreement, because the surplus which we get, you have to spend here. But what we are getting? We are getting 15.66, at least 5 to 6 crores less allocations to Telangana in agriculture sector. Then discrimination in fertilizer supply. We can see the statistics. Need not explain the statistics always. We can see if you can take 1 year reference date 64 to 65, 72.7% of fertilizer supply was in Andhra and we have 27, and check 67 and 68, very, very bad state. 91% of the fertilizer supply was in Andhra and 9% was in Telangana. How can you expect Telangana agriculturists to survive all the hurdles and thrive? This is the problem. Next, electricity. 1956 to 68, rural electrification, we can see Andhra got 98 crores, Telangana got 10 crores. Means 100, approximately 100, this is 10. 1/10 of the allocations you can see for Telangana. Rural electrification is a very important aspect for the developmental issue in rural areas. And very interestingly, when Andhra was reeling under powerlessness, means they did not had power, and Hyderabad was producing the power and we had electricity here. Our own Hyderabad was producing in 1930s, and now in United Andhra Pradesh, this rural electrification got a raw deal. And revenues. See, all these things are every department. I am showing you one example or two examples for each sector or a department. Revenue, for example, you take land revenue is a very important source of income for the government. And land revenue, in spite of the opposition from Telangana MLAs, it was hiked in Telangana. 1967. And you see, whenever you are hiking the land revenue and assessing, reassessing and adjusting the land revenue, it should be proper, justified and equal. And if you see the land tax of Andhra and Telangana, 1962 land tax, if we see, it is 13 crores 26 lakhs 31,366 land tax. And from Telangana it was 5 crores 1 lakh. 1967 they have amended tax after 5 years. What should have happened in general? Tax will always rise. If 13 crores 26 lakhs is collected from Andhra, at least it should be 13.26 or it should be 13 or 14, at least a marginal rise. Generally we see, did we see at any point of time tax is being reduced? No. But now Andhra tax, you can see land revenue collected after the amended tax in 1967, it was 12 crore 1 lakh. Previously in 62 it was 13 crores 26 lakhs. Now it is 12 crore 1 lakh. Come to Telangana, this is exactly the mirror image or the reverse of it. Like it was 5.1 crore, that is 5 crores 1 lakh. Now it is 5 crores 19 lakhs. Here it is a marginal hike, no reduction, but there is a hike. Why this injustice with Telangana? This is what we have questioned in 1969 movement. Lots of materials were distributed in 1969 movement, not only in the movement, even in TRC it was discussed, but of no use. Many discussions in TRC, if you see the TRC records, all these things were discussed in TRC, but because TRC is a toothless body, TRC is not a statutory body, it is not a council, it's a committee. So these things are becoming not so useful. Discussions are done, they are representing, but not fighting for it. This is the thing. Now it is another crucial aspect of Telangana movement, that is employment. Since 1956, the violations were done till 68. It does not mean that there were no violations between 56. Since we are talking about the period that is Andhra Pradesh, we are talking about it. Villodi, military rule, and every time you have violations. But that is not legal. Now it is legal. The violation has become illegal. Violations in employment has become a serious practice of Andhra rulers. There are 5 places where you can see the discrimination of Telangana. 1. Employment, promotions, gradation, transfers, service conditions. And they have ignored all the mulki rules, GOs issued by the same government. They issue the GO, but they don't implement. Secretariat, the General Administration Department, GAD issues a GO regarding non-mulkis, but they will never implement. They ignore presidential orders. They ignored constitutional provisions, Supreme Court orders. Everything is ignored. Blatant violation was done in terms of employment. This is a very serious issue happening with Telangana under United Andhra Pradesh. Basically because, first of all, TRC was having, in gentleman's agreement, Telangana Regional Council would have been the powers to employ or supervise the employment system scenario in Telangana. Now employment is not under TRC, so you can do anything, whatever you want. So center issued in 19 56, Telangana and Andhra merged, and now it is Andhra Pradesh. Like Andhra Pradesh, there are many states in the country which were having their own mulki rules, own rules for employment. So, to bring commonality, Center has issued the Public Employment Requirement to Residents Act 1957. This was brought in on 7th December 1957, which abolishes different types of mulki rules in the country. Means all the mulki rules will go at once with this act, 1957 act, but they gave exemptions to Telangana, Manipur and Himachal Pradesh, Tripura. Because of the historical conditions and background of these states, they exempted these states from the act which was centrally promulgated, that is 57 Act of Public Employment. And accordingly, they brought in the rules in 1959. They called it as Andhra Pradesh Public Employment Requirement as to Residence Rules 1959. This was introduced, and this will be applicable for Telangana for recruitment in government and local bodies, except the Cantonment Board. Cantonment Board, for example, Cantonment Board is there in Hyderabad or Secunderabad. These rules will not be applicable for Cantonment Board employment. That is a different purview. So, government and local bodies, you have mulki rules. Andhra Pradesh Public Employment Rules 1959 says, the first point, 15 years of residence, a local, and only locals are eligible for the, remember, this is very crucial point. Every second vacancy out of 3, there are 3 vacancies like this. Every second vacancy out of these 3, every second vacancy is for the local, in secretariat, HOD offices in Hyderabad and Secunderabad. HOD offices in Hyderabad and Secunderabad has to be written, because if you just say HOD offices in Hyderabad, if any HOD office, any department is having its head office in Secunderabad, simply they can violate and say, you have said only Hyderabad, so we will violate. So, HOD offices in twin cities plus secretariat. So, the mulki rules will apply. RDO will certify that this person is a mulki, and this is applicable only for the non-gazetted posts. This is the essence of the mulki rules 1959. Tragically, previous mulki rules under Nizam or Hyderabad state had another provision, that is, even gazetted posts were under mulki rules. Now what has happened? These mulki rules are applicable only for non-gazetted posts. So this is one loss. And then even after this, you can see the violation was done in a very treacherous way, and they have used all the ways and means to deceive the rule. Like, first thing is, a mulki has to be appointed in secretariat and HOD departments. So what they did was blatantly ignored this rule and appointed Andhras, number 1. Second, I just talked about the every second out of 3. What is happening? 2 out of 3 were reserved for Andhras now. When you say out of 3, second one is reserved for Telangana, what do you should understand? These 3 are open, but this is reserved. But what Andhras did was, this is a concept of reverse reservation. How they have reserved reversely? This post is for Telangana and these 2 are for Andhras. So in this reverse reservation, what has happened? It is not 1 post for mulki, it is 2 posts for non-mulkis. Is it not a reverse reservation? And for the second post, they will not recruit any Telangana person. As the mulki rule says, the condition is every second should be given to a mulki. What did they do? They did not recruit any person in the second post. Said the people who are coming for the interview or the examination or something, whatever it is, we did not get a qualified person for this post. So automatically what will happen? These 2 posts will be filled by Andhras and this post will be a vacant. And again, piling up of all the vacancies, finally the same thing will happen. So as a result, you get more and more opportunities for Andhras and less opportunities for Telanganas. 2 reserved for Andhras, 1 reserved for Telangana. 1 reserved will not be filled and 2 open for Telangana will be filled by Andhras. So where is a Telangana? That is how we have seen a very few people in the secretariat in the next phase, even in the last phase of our Telangana station, we could see only a few people in class 4 posts from Telangana, and remaining HODs and many people are from Andhra in secretariat. That was the state of affairs in 2013 or 12. So exemptions were made to violate all these things, like wife is working here or husband is working here. So spouse clause is one thing. Second is non-qualified locals are there. So fill someone from Andhra. Temporary adjustments or mutual transfers, border areas, they give something and just some person from Andhra will come into Telangana region and then finally settle down here. Dependents are refugees and army personnel, especially from Burma, and army personnel. So this is one class. So you make some certificates and you can get a reservation in here, exemption. Then on humanitarian grounds, health ground or something else. So finally, these 6 methods were used to violate the Mulki rules, and finally Andhras are settling down in the employment. Posts allocated for Mulkis were first abolished, then filled with Andhras, as we have seen. Second post, what they have done, they did not fill. Finally, merged with the new posts, you get more number of posts for Andhras. 1,50,000 Telangana employees were harassed by the Andhra officers. As we have seen, service conditions is one of the important aspects. Andhra officers were harassing these people and saying that you people are incapable and incompetent, you don't have much knowledge, all these things they were talking. So this is one thing. According to some of the statistics, teachers, 2,500 non-Mulkis were appointed as teachers in Telangana because the class, as I said, exemption, no qualified local is the pretext. When you have no qualified teacher, you can appoint a qualified one. You can anedi ledu, kani they have appointed non-locals, saying that there are no qualified locals. Why there are no qualified locals? Because we don't have enough teacher training institutes here. So teacher training institutes, Madras or some of the other centers, so trained teachers are coming into Hyderabad because they are saying that there are no qualified teachers in Telangana. Teacher training institute, basic trainings and all these things. So we don't have. So as we remember, in gentleman's agreement, what they were discussing, improve all the educational facilities in Telangana. You have to improve the facilities. You have to reserve the seats for Telanganites in those institutions. You don't improve, you don't reserve, and you make all the violations in jobs. This is what opportunist leadership of treacherous, blatantly violent, opportunist leadership of Andhra did. For example, you can see how, they have retrenched 44 employees in forest department. These are the statistics of this period. Who collected all these things? One is TNGOs, and some of the books which were written during this period, 69 movement, they have come out with the clear statistics, cases. 44 retrenched Andhra employees in forest department there were recruited into Telangana. Now who is losing? Telangana people are losing. They have retrenched there and posted here, appointed here. So it is minus 44 plus 44. It should have been 44 Telangana people, and more number of people should have been appointed in forest department in Telangana, and you are losing all the posts. Departments were integrated where Andhras get benefited. For example, some of the departments will be there, the same department or redundant activity doing similar activity, so departments will be merged. And it was done only where Andhras are getting benefited. But where Telangana is getting benefited, they were delaying the prospects. Why? Because if you delay the thing, you can postpone the gradation. Why gradation is important is, if the gradation list, if the seniority list, grading list, everything is done, the next is promotions. You can promote Andhras if you have a gradation list. If you don't have a list of gradation for Telangana employees, you will postpone the promotion. Thus, Andhras will climb the ladder, climb the higher echelons as fast as possible, and Telangana's people or Telangana employees will be denied of their share. This was done. For example, Public Works Department, if you see, out of 120 promoted, only 6 were from Telangana. 120 and 6. What is the ratio you can see? It's so horrible. This, in gentleman's agreement, we were talking about the ratio even in employment, even in retrenchment, even in promotions. Now what we are seeing? We are seeing nothing is being implemented. Teachers' pay. Pay scales. In Telangana, pay scales were something else. Andhra state, pay scales were something else. Jayashankar was narrating his own story in his biography or some interview. The pay scale of Telangana was higher. When Andhra Pradesh state came into existence, they reduced the pay scale. Then Jayashankar and other people approached the higher authority, some district educational officer also, said, this was our pay scale, please retain it. Then he said, we are not going to do. Go and ask the person who has given you the pay scale. Who gave the pay scale? That is Hyderabad state. Can they go back to Hyderabad state and ask for the same pay scale and retain it? There is no Hyderabad state, there is no Burgula, there is no government of Telangana. Now it is Andhra Pradesh. This is the blatant answer. This is the shameless blatant answer they were giving. If you don't want, you can leave the job and we'll recruit the other people. This is what they said to Jayashankar and other people. So they have to readjust themselves for the lesser pay scale. This lesser pay scale, the pay scale was not adjusted when you integrate the department. This is one example of restructuring of the departments. And TRC, Telangana Regional Committee, appointed a ad hoc committee to look into all these violations. Hayagreevachari, a Congress leader, was the chairman of this, but this exercise was a futile exercise. They have done some work, they have brought out some facts, they have presented it, but there is no one to take action on them. So this is another violation. So what do you understand out of all these things? Basically, gentleman's agreement was an agreement which was made with an intention to safeguard the interests of Telangana people. Not just one field, not just employment, it is political, economic and agriculture. You can see political means when I am talking about the power sharing, like political parties, political power with deputy CM, CM post or portfolios, that should be in a fair and transparent manner, that sharing. So you have that clear writings in gentleman's agreement in terms of sharing of the power, but it was not done. So political violation you can see. Then second one is the economic aspects. What are the economic aspects? When we talk about the economic aspects, you talk about the agriculture. Irrigation is a very, very big subject which can alter the entire economic scenario of the country. For example, you take the case of irrigation. We have talked about big projects. I would like to explain about a smaller thing like minor irrigation. What do you mean by minor irrigation? Tanks, wells and canals which are linking up the tanks with the rivers. So canals. Minor irrigation was never taken seriously. Allocations were done in a very haphazard or a biased way. If you don't allocate funds for minor irrigation, what will happen? The region which is completely dependent on minor irrigation, like Telangana, will suffer. Tanks will collapse. Desilting will not happen. When desilting is not happening, what will happen? The tanks which were storing more water will store less water. You don't have money to repair the canals. You don't have repair the streams. You don't have money to repair the sluices. You don't have money to repair the walls. So gradually what will happen? Tank will disappear, or tank will not serve the purpose which was serving as a great source of irrigation. In Telangana we have bigger tanks, very huge tanks, thousands of tanks. In Mission Kakatiya, what we are doing is resurrecting the whole thing now. I'll tell you, there is a proverb in Telangana. There is a saying in Telangana, it's not a proverb, like Gangalam laga unna cheruvulu Tambalalu ainayi. Gangalam means a vessel which will be having much depth. You can store much water like this. This is Gangalam. Tambalam means it's a flat plate like thing. Means the water retaining capacity, storing capacity of the tank is reducing to a minimum level where it is not useful for the irrigation purpose. This is what the pathetic condition happened because of the less allocations for Telangana agriculture, irrigation. That is how, if we link up this neglect of agriculture during this period, you can link up with the suicides of peasantry in Telangana in the latter phase. What is happening? I'll tell you a simple sequence. Tanks, wells neglected. Once you neglect all these minor sources of water, what is happening? If tank is drying up, if it is not storing much water, tanks are the storage, they work for the storage of water, at the same time they help for maintaining the groundwater table. If you don't have groundwater table, if the tank is not stored well, the groundwater table in the nearby areas are also falling. When groundwater table is falling, automatically what will happen? The wells which are giving you water at a higher level will go more deeper. Then you will set pumps, you will send pipes and take or lift the water. And now the old or traditional method of mota bavulu or other types of ratnam bavulu, all these things are gone. What is there now? You have bore wells. When you are going to dig earth and go deeper and deeper, gradually the water table is diminishing and you are not getting water. Previously we did not have bore wells because the minor irrigation source, that is tanks, wells, were supplementing the water needs along with the rain which is seasonal. Now you don't have tanks and wells, so groundwater table gone, and we are in quest of the water at 400 meters level. We are going deeper, digging and finally not getting water. And our peasantry is spending money on bore wells and getting indebted to the money lenders and finally committing suicide. Don't you see a bigger tragedy in an aspect like non-allocation of funds for minor irrigation? This is what has happened under United Andhra Pradesh. So irrigation gone, electricity is important for development, we have seen, and employment is such a bigger thing where you have lost jobs to Andhras. Thousands of jobs, not hundreds, thousands of jobs are lost to Andhras. Blatant violation. Word, don't say violation mere. Blatant is a must word along with violation when you speak of employment. How did they violate? There are some smaller techniques, like for example BHEL like place. In the next 1970s, we can see the change. Like industrial areas like BHEL, when people were getting jobs in BHEL, infitter, turner, all the tradesmen jobs, what is happening? Many people from Andhra are getting enrolled in the employment at Sangareddy because employment exchange is the one which is sending the interview letters or test letters. So you should enroll in Sangareddy through fake certificates, fake local certificates. Many Andhras got fake local certificates in Medak district, erstwhile Medak district, headquarters Sangareddy. Sangareddy Employment Exchange was having more number of fake mulki certificates. And all these people became locals and took employment in BHEL like centers where you can see people taking up the opportunity of getting a job here. Government jobs, we have seen how they have violated. Thus, if we have to conclude, the entire violations can be framed like this. They did not care for rules, agreements and courts. Violations, wherever it benefited Andhras, they have resorted to all these measures. In terms of projects, the bias towards Telangana projects, we can see. And finally, irrigation is a major aspect in the next phase of movement. R. Vidyasagar Rao, we'll talk about him whenever we have time or whenever we have a context also. In his book Neelu Nijalu, actually it was a series, written articles coming published, put in one book, that is Neelu Nijalu R. Vidyasagar Rao. It's a fascinating work about the problem of water, issue of water of Telangana. R. Vidyasagar Rao, he is no more now. He was active in Telangana movement, last phase. So, deceit in irrigation, agriculture, impoverished the peasantry and people. And all the suicides and the impoverished and the monoculture of the crop pattern in Telangana, we have to attribute to the United Andhra Pradesh governance. Monoculture, we had a vibrant agriculture pattern, and United Andhra Pradesh brought in monoculture, only one or two crops, and we lost the vibrancy, we lost the capacity to regenerate, and we are dying. Means Telangana peasantry died because of this loss of vibrancy, monoculture aspect. And employment, non-mulkis grabbed the employment, and because of this, the last 20 years of violation, means 56 to almost 68. You can see 12 years what is happening, all the violations. And before 56, at least you can start from military rule. 40, you can start from 50 to 68, almost 18 years of subjugation of Telangana by different means, deceit and violation is the spark which has lit the prairie fire of 1969. There is a famous saying, a spark can lit the prairie fire. Because we will be talking about 1969 agitation tomorrow in the next class. So I am talking about this spark. Spark can be somewhere, but once the spark becomes wider, it becomes a prairie fire. 1969 movement is a prairie fire, and these violations are the reasons why this spark has been lit to start 1969. Jai Telangana agitation.